Hello everyone and welcome to day 3 in this web development course. Today we'll be continuing to build our website and learning more about HTML5 and CSS3. Okay, so we're going to start off looking and talking more about styles. We're just going to be taking a brief look at them and we'll be talking about them more later on in the lesson. So if we take a look at this finished website right here, we can see pictures, colors, and just an overall layout. We can see that the space between these home, about, contact us, and privacy policy, the space between them is all the same, and you cannot achieve that through HTML. That can only be done through CSS. So we'll be creating a CSS file, and which will link to our other files, which they can all access, and we'll be doing that later on in the lesson. Okay, so let's open up Visual Studio Code now, and we're going to be learning about divs first. I'll explain what that is in a little bit. Okay, so we don't need our about file for today, so let's just go ahead and close that. So I also don't need this to-do list because we know what we're doing right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and close it as well. So let's get rid of this header right here because we don't need that right now. And okay, so we have our index file up and we're going to be learning about divs. So let's go to our body section, which we are already in, and this is where we'll be making our div. Making a div in HTML is very simple. All you need to do is type in a dot and then whatever you want your class or your div to be named. So I want this to be named test, so I'm going to be typing in dot period dot test and hit enter, so it'll create this div class for you. So let's make some space here, just type in enter because we're going to be typing some stuff in here. And the div classes work in almost the same way as these body and these head classes work. They are so whatever is inside them belongs to that class. Like this div is inside this body section, so this div belongs in the body section, and so whatever is going to be inside this div belongs to the div. So whatever I type in here will be part of the div, which is part of the body, so the code inside of the div belongs to both of them. And I just threw a lot of words out there and it may seem a little complex at first, but with practice it becomes a habit. You could also get a little more complicated, like putting a div inside of a div, which we will do soon when we create our 9x9 grid and some other stuff. And another advantage of divs is that in a CSS file, it's a lot easier when you use a CSS file to get our styles, and it'll be able to more easily understand to where to apply them. So for example, if I type into the CSS file that I want the text to be red, but only for the code which is inside this test class, you can do that if you have different divs. And overall, the div will just give you the ability to place things on the screen in an organized manner, and they're also really helpful if we ever want to select anything in the CSS class, and we'll talk more about this in a little bit. And another helpful thing to know in Visual Studio Code is that if you ever forget or don't understand anything, you can hover over it and it'll give you a brief summary of what it is. And then there's also the internet you can look at for any questions you have, and I'm also here for you. So if you have any questions or any of this, you can contact me. So we're going to be using divs a lot, so it is a good idea to get pretty good at them. Okay, so let's type something in. This div, I'll just say this is a test program, and you don't have to do anything else, you can just type that out. So let's check if this works. Go ahead and hit save, and then open up your Finder or your File Explorer, and then find where your folder is, and then open up the index file, and we see we now have this is a test program. So that was successful. Okay, so another cool thing we can do on this website we have right here is if you right click and then click inspect, we can see all of our code right here. So here's the body and here's the head. So if you go ahead and click this drop down on the body, we can see that we have our div class in here. So this is really helpful if you ever want to debug your own code or just want to look at it. And you can do this on almost any other website. So if you want to check out some other person's or company's code, you can simply do what I just did. And since this allows you to look at other people's codes, this does not mean that you can copy and paste it. Remember that the code you write should always be yours and not somebody else's you are passing off as your own, because that is called plagiarism. So let's go ahead and close this and go back to Visual Studio. And right now we're going to be creating a CSS file and linking it to our HTML file. So let's go ahead and just link it up first. So right here below the title, just hit enter, and we're gonna type in link and then hit enter again. This is a shortcut for what just came up on the screen. Now here in the href, this means reference, type in styles.css. Make sure it's all lowercase. It doesn't have to be, but it should when we create the file. So just make sure all of your names are the same as mine if you don't have much experience as this. So let's go ahead and save this, and let's create a new file. So go like how we did last time, just go hover over your folder name and hit new file, and here we're going to type in styles.css. And this .css is telling the computer that this is a CSS file, just like we did with .html. And make sure it is exactly the same as what you typed in your reference, or else the link won't work. It's case sensitive as well. Almost everything in coding is case sensitive, so always keep that in mind. So hit enter, and now we have a new file. Okay. So essentially, if you really want to understand what this piece of code right here is doing, it's basically saying link this index file to a style sheet, which will be able to edit the styles of this HTML program to styles.css, which you just created. So this is linked to this program right here. Okay. So remember to keep on saving so that you don't lose any of your work. Visual Studio does not automatically save your files, so keep on hitting Command or Control S. Okay, so now we are going to start typing in this CSS file. So you can use the CSS file to select any elements you want, like a div which we just created in this index file, and we can make changes to it. We can make the font bigger or change its color. There's a lot of things we can do. So to select an item in a div class in CSS, we have to type in a dot and then the name of the class. Remember, this is also case sensitive. So we're going to type in, since we created a test class, we're going to type in dot test, and then we're going to put some curly brackets here. This is basically the syntax for CSS. It's different than HTML because it's a different programming language. So whatever is inside these curly brackets will make changes to only the test class in our index file. So let's go ahead and test this out. Let's change the background color of the text we made. So just type in background color, and you can see that it auto-completes it for you. So there's a bunch of stuff. There's a background image, background position, size, position X and position Y. So just go ahead and click on color, and we have a bunch of options. Let's just set it to blue. So we have blue right there, and then you see the semicolon right here. That is another syntax for style for CSS. So every line of code except for these classes have to have a semicolon to signify that this line of code is over. So let's also change the text color. So type in text color. Looks like we don't have a text color. So let's just do color, and then we'll say red. That's weird. I think there should be a text color, but I may be mistaken. Okay, so let's go ahead and save the styles.css file, and let's go ahead and check out how it looks. So go back to your website. You don't have to go back to your file explorer. You can just hit refresh right here, and you see that our text color has changed and our background color has changed as well. So this does not look very good, but it does show that our link between our styles and our HTML site are working. Okay, so that is pretty good, and I'm going to end this video right now, and I'll start it up again because, as you know, I have a 10-minute limit on my recording software. So I'll see you guys in less than a second. Okay, so now let's start some real work on our website. So to do that, let's get rid of our test function. So get rid of these styles, just delete all of that, and then go ahead and save that, and then let's go back to our index, and let's delete this div class because we do not need that right now. Okay, so According to our to-do list, the first thing we have to do in order to start our website is to create the navigation bar. So let's do that. In our body, we're going to be adding 2 links, one to this index HTML file and another to our about file. So we will do this through wrapping the href, which is the href, which is the reference, inside an a tag. An a tag is a wrapper class, just like a div or a body class, which simply just says that here's a hyperlink, and if it is clicked, please go there. So let's go ahead and do that. Just type in A and then hit enter, and you see this comes up. And then so in the href, so href, just type in index.html, and there's an autocomplete there. If it doesn't show up, don't worry about it, just to make sure that it is exactly the same. So this index.html is written exactly the same way it is up here. And then let's do the same thing for our about.html. So just do the same thing and type in about.html. So now we have 2 links here. So basically, if when we go to our website, the index and about page will show up, and if you click on them, it'll take you to those pages. And here, so this is essentially like a div class, so you can type whatever you want here. So in here, let's just type in home, because our index page is our home page, and in here, let's type in about, or sorry, not over there, like out inside that. I typed it inside these wrappers. So make sure you don't do that. Make sure the text is white, not blue, because a blue text means that you're typing it inside, just like I did. Okay, so we have these 2. Let's go ahead and save this, and let's look at our website to check this out. So make sure you save everything before you go. So I'm gonna go here, just hit refresh. So all of that is gone, and now you can see we have 2 links here. We have a home page and an about page. So if we click on about, it takes us to our about file. So basically, we've linked everything now, and that is awesome. So here in the about page, we haven't added that code, so it doesn't have those links right now. We'll do that in next class. So we have this about me coming soon, so let's go back, and we have our home page. If we click on this, it'll just basically refresh again, because we are currently on our home page already. Okay, so that is awesome. We have created our links, so we are making some progress on our to-do list. That is awesome. Okay, so what we need to do now is do the top right part of our to-do list. Remember, we have to have our name in there. So we're just going to create a simple div class here, and we really can't control the top right portion right now because that is controlled by CSS, and we are currently working in HTML. So a div doesn't have to be a class, it can simply just hold information. So let's just type in div and hit enter, and we have a div right here, and notice that it hasn't created a class like last time. So this will just hold information, it'll display it. So let's type here our name. So you can type whatever you want, but I'm just gonna type in my name because that is the website we're building. So hit Control S, and you see that the name comes up on the bottom, and we don't want that. We want it to come on the top right, and we will do that in next class because we really can't determine the position of where our stuff is in HTML. We're gonna have to do that through CSS, and that leads a segue into my next section, which is organization. We're gonna do some heavy organization right now, which means we're gonna be creating a lot of div classes right now. So this is gonna it's gonna go a little fast. So if you ever need to pause the video, make sure to pause it, and if you have any questions, be sure to email me. Okay, so we're gonna have to add some styles to get our final website. So to get this website to look like this website right here, it's very different right now. So in order to, as I said, we have to create some div classes because not every single style is gonna apply to every single element. Like I cannot simply just create one class for all of this, because this part is gonna go in top right, and this part's gonna go in top left, and then we have to create individual ones for these 2 as well, because this is gonna go in a different position compared to this one right here. Okay, so let's start off on doing that. So we're gonna start off basic. We're just gonna create a container class around all of this code. So type in .container, and you see that the ending of this div comes up. Just go ahead and copy that, and then delete that, and then go ahead and put it here. And I accidentally cut out one sign, so we have this over here. And then so in order for our code to look a lot more organized, what we're gonna do is we're gonna select all of this code right here, and we're gonna hit tab on that. So it just looks overall more organized. So now we have a container class around this. So this container class is gonna contain all of our code for our body section. So the next thing we're going to do is separate out these two pieces of code from this piece of code, because as we see in our final website right here, this is in the top right and this is in the top left, so we're gonna have to apply different styles for that, and this is also a different text and a different size, so that's why you have to switch those up into two different things. But before we do that, since we're gonna have more code adding on in our container, let's just create a nav wrapper, or navigation bar wrapper. So type in nav/wrapper. I typed that wrong again, my bad, and then hit enter. Copy this ending div right here, Control-C, and then put it at the end here, and then just hit tab on that because we want it to link right here, and then we're gonna hit tab on all of this as well, just to make it look more organized. And another thing you can do to confirm that your class is working well and it's organized well is you see this line right here. So this is basically saying that this ending div is connected to this div right here, and you can see that all throughout. So that just makes sure that we don't have any mistakes. And the reason we created this nav wrapper and we didn't just leave this code in the container, because there is more code that we're gonna write in the container, which will have different style necessities. Okay. So now let's separate these two pieces of code from this piece of code. So let's go ahead and hit enter again, and we'll just call this one left side. So dot left side, hit enter, copy this ending div, and then put it right here. And we'll just hit tab on that so it lines up with this, and I actually have a space in there. And then hit tab on all of this code as well. So you see this line right here, that means this is connected, this left side is connected to that. And then let's do the same thing but for right side. So let's just leave some space in there just so the code looks a little cleaner. Dot right/side, and we have created another div class. Copy this part and then put it right here. And then since this is lining up with this, we don't want that, we want it to line up with our right side class, and then just hit tab on this as well, so there's another line link over here. So we just did a lot of organization and we are almost done. Okay, so we're gonna have to separate out these two as well, because the about and the index, we don't want them on top of each other, they're gonna be in different places. So we're gonna create the same class for both of them, and this really might not make sense right now, because when I was learning this, it also didn't make sense for me, but when we start using the styles, it'll make a lot of sense. Okay, so let's call this one nav link wrapper. This is different from the nav wrapper. This is just individually for the links. And then we'll copy this div right here, and we'll put it individually for the index and the about. We're gonna make two separate references. For the two separate references, we're gonna have two separate ones. And then hit tab right here, so there's another link there. And then we're gonna create the exact same class we just did up there over here. So type in the exact same thing, nav link wrapper, and then copy this div down here, and make sure to delete it, and then paste it right here, and then hit tab right here. So we have one last thing to do, and this may seem a little unnecessary, but it really helps with the organization. We're gonna create a div class right here, which will keep the name. So let's just name this name. So dot name, copy this div right here, and paste it right there. I know you don't have to copy it each time. It's just a habit. You don't have to copy each time, but yeah. Okay, hit tab again. So we have organized everything now. If we save this and go back to our website, not much will change. This is just on a different level now because we have separated these two out. So that is all the organization. So we did all the boring work today, and next class we're going to be really making this look better, and that is what we're gonna do next class. Sorry, I thought my recording function cut out, but it actually didn't, so that is wonderful. Okay, so we did all the organization and it still looks pretty ugly, and so we'll add all the styles next class, which is gonna be very exciting. So yeah, this course is really starting to pick up right now, and if you ever feel overwhelmed with all the information or you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to contact me at mehulcm17@gmail.com. That's mehulcm17@gmail.com. I hope you're enjoying the course so far and have a great day. Bye.